Yeah, we're live on Vivek.
Sorry?
We are live.
Okay. Is Isha joining or shall I start? Can you check with her once?
Sure, I just check.
Vivek, can you see me?
Yes. Hi, Isha.
Great, great, great. Simran, have we streamed it on the
Yeah, I
YouTube?
think we are live.
Okay,
Simran, can you please confirm?
perfect.
Yeah, we are live.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Simran. Vivek, if you could please go to slideshow so that we can see the screen. And apologies to the audience for waiting. I think because of some technical glitch, we couldn't start at 6 o'clock. Yeah, thank you so much, Vivek. All right, so let's begin. I think all of you know Vivek and me, and hello to all the new users who've recently joined us and joined the Gulaq community. Today is the November AMA webinar, wherein we'll talk again a little bit about ST and Gulaq for the new members and talk about the rebalance updates that we have had for the month of November. We've received a lot of questions around the rebalance, and I'm hopeful we'll be able to answer most of them. And then we'll move to the Q&A, again, the ones that we received in the form earlier, followed by whatever you guys share with us in the comment section on YouTube today. Right? We can move to the next screen, Vivek, please. Okay, a little bit about ST. It's been over 16 years now that ST has been around. We were started in 2008 when SEBI had permitted algorithmic trading in India. And we specialize in creating investment and brokerage products using algorithms and using computers. So we are the pioneers in this field. And we also have a PMS business, again, which is managed algorithmically. We have operations in 6 countries and we have an AUM of over 1,500 crores in INR in the PMS division. Now, in 2020, we thought, okay, why not offer the portfolios that are doing well to our retail clients as well, people who have lower ticket sizes. That's when Gulaq was born. It is the retail investment advisory arm of ST. And we again built portfolios using multi-factor algo-based investment strategies. We have served more than 25,000 clients now, actually. And we are a SEBI registered entity. We are a SEBI registered investment advisor. All right, Vivek, we can move to the next slide. Okay, this is a little bit about the 3 of us. A lot of you know about us, but there's also Simran today who's helping us since there was a technical glitch. There are also a lot of other members of our team which are holding the fort and kind of taking it forward. Right? A little bit on the disclaimers. Being a SEBI registered entity, it is important for us to inform all our clients about the risks that are associated with investing in the markets. So these are all those disclaimers. It has information about our company as well. So please go through them. You can pause the slide, rewind if you want to take note of any of these in detail. Now, moving on to the rebalance update for this month. Yes, we do have reduced the number of stocks in the portfolio after a lot of feedback and a lot of discussions internally, a lot of analysis we did on the kind of strategy that we want to create. And Vivek will definitely touch upon them in a little bit more time. But for now, let me take you through the changes that have happened apart from the changes in the number of stocks. The first one is related to market caps. As you can see, we are pretty much on the same lines. Of course, went a little more towards small cap and reduced a little bit from large and mid cap, as you can see. Now, moving on to sector weights, you see we are very heavy on consumer staples. That has only increased further in the month of November. Even materials, energy, pretty much the same. In fact, all the other sectors were pretty much the same, not too bullish on healthcare or real estate or utilities, really. Even financials, being one of the strongest sectors, currently we are not finding opportunities there, and we have not placed much over there. We have, in fact, took out money from financials and moved it to the other sectors. So this is what our strategy, what our algo has recommended, and that's what we have done this time. Moving to factors, of course, we were taking an approach where momentum was out of our strategy for the last 4 months. This month, we've again allocated more than 50% weight to momentum, and we've moved out from quality. So this is again on the factor side of things. I think it's nice for all the momentum fans, and we're hopeful that the strategy would work even better now. Just a little bit for all the new people who've joined us. These are the 4 products that we offer currently. Of course, looking at increasing our scope of products, but currently we have 4 different products which are corresponding to 4 different asset allocation and risk levels. So if you are an aggressive investor and you want to place 100% money in equity, Gear 6 will be the most suitable. As you become, if you're more and more conservative, then your gears will reduce. And this is akin to the gears of a car. You know, that's the analogy we use, where we say, as you are more aggressive, which means you're more comfortable driving at a faster pace, you can take more risk, you increase the gear of the car and you drive the car faster. So that is similar to investing 100% in equity and not having any part of debt in your portfolio. But it's always advisable that you take a risk survey, figure out your asset allocation, and then make a decision accordingly. I believe a lot of you would know that a risk survey is present on the gulaq.com website as well for you to just, play around with it. Coming to the performance, a lot of questions about how the returns have been and why there has been a fall in the returns. So as you see, the benchmark has definitely fallen in the last 2 months, and so has Gulaq Gear 6. Being the most aggressive portfolio, 100% equity, we've always shared that its Sharpe is higher. We've always shared that, how the maximum drawdowns have been. So it's definitely more risky than the benchmark, which is the Nifty Multi-Cap Index. But it is also doing well when the markets are going up. So of course, there are measures that we take to reduce the fall, even when the market goes down. But this is what you can see right now. This is the snapshot of Gear 6, which is the most aggressive portfolio. I think now we'll see returns of all the gears on the page. You will see even Gear 5, which is 80% equity, is definitely impacted by the fall in the markets. Gear 4 and Gear 3 will have a lower impact because it also has debt component in the portfolio. So Vivek, if you can quickly just show Gear 4 and 4 and 3 as well. This is Gear 3. Yeah. So the impact is definitely lower, but they have too fallen because they have debt as well as equity in their portfolio. And a snapshot of all the returns placed together. Of course, the index is best to be compared with Gear 6. For all the other gears, you will need to compare with like a hybrid index between debt and equity. But this is just for easy reference of all the returns together, as we had received a lot of questions. Okay, Simran is telling me that people are requesting कि हम हिंदी में बात करें. सिमरन मुझे ये बता रही हैं, तो हम लोग हिंदी और इंग्लिश दोनों में कम्युनिकेट कर सकते हैं. आई थिंक ये हमने अभी रिटर्न्स दिखाए हैं. ये स्लाइड दिखा रही है कि बेंचमार्क नीचे गया है, तो इंडेक्स नीचे गया है, तो हम भी नीचे गए हैं. Gear 6 जिसमें मैक्सिमम इक्विटी कॉम्पोजिशन है, 100% इक्विटी कॉम्पोजिशन है. इनफैक्ट वो सबसे ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट हुआ है, वो सबसे ज्यादा नीचे गया है. जैसे जैसे डेट कॉम्पोनेंट और आता जा रहा है पोर्टफोलियो में, Gear 3 की टुवर्ड्स हम जा रहे हैं, तो इम्पैक्ट इतना नहीं है. बट आपको इतनी ज्यादा चिंता करने की जरूरत नहीं है, बिकॉज ऐसे मेजर्स भी हैं पोर्टफोलियो में कि बहुत ज्यादा फॉल ना हो, तो वो हम कॉन्स्टेंटली रिव्यू कर रहे हैं इंटरनली. ओके विवेक, नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज. ये अगेन परफॉर्मेंस दिखा रहा है हमारे पोर्टफोलियो का. वी कैन सी 100 रुपीज इन्वेस्टेड, हाउ मच दे वुड हैव बिन टुडे. यू कैन सी कि गियर 6 में थोड़ा डिप है. दिस इज गियर 6 की परफॉर्मेंस जो हम देख रहे हैं. सिमिलरली इन द राइट साइड यू विल सी द चार्ट. इट शोज की comparative how it's performed. Benchmark with gear 6. Gear 6 is the blue bar, benchmark is the orange bar. So gear 6 is blue, benchmark is orange. All right, Vivek, next slide, please. This is just about the book which was launched 2 months back. ये बहुत लोगों ने देखा भी होगा. ये हमारे CEO ने book लिखी है, The Little Book of Big Gains. So this is a guide to investing wisely and also systematically. And ये थोड़े से quotes हैं. नितिन कामत जो Zerodha के CEO हैं, he's shared this quote on the book, how he felt about reading it. Similarly, the CEO of BSE has also shared. And if I have to talk about what this book entails, it's a guide जिसमें आपको how to build a investment plan वो पता चलेगा. Noise कैसे avoid करनी चाहिए, because आज की डेट में भी so many Gulaq subscribers tell us कि market में ये हो रहा है, market में वो हो रहा है, why don't you do this, why don't you do that. We say नहीं, हम noise avoid करेंगे, हम systematic plan बनाएंगे. So that is what the book also advises कि अगर आप अपने personal plan बना रहे हैं, how you should go about it. Staying the course and taking it further, how to go about it, how to go ahead. फ्यूचर में कैसे रीबैलेंस करें अपना पोर्टफोलियो, कैसे अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट्स को स्टडी एंड एनालाइज करें. ऑल दैट इज प्रेजेंट इन दिस बुक व्हिच इज अ वेरी लाइक tiny book. That's why it's called the Little Book of Big Gains. I think 160, 170 odd pages and lots of good stuff inside. So it's available on Amazon. Okay, ask me anything. So now Vivek will take over. Vivek, maybe we could do 2-3 slides, like 3-4 slides where you have data to show. Then we can go to YouTube and see the questions. बहुत सारे questions YouTube पे भी आ रहे हैं.
Yeah,
And then we
sure.
can come back to the rest of the slides.
Sure, Isha, definitely.
All
So
right.
you got quite a few questions. Most of them were around portfolio strategy and performance, and then also a few on rebalance and on the markets. So I'll start taking them. Manu George has written to us, when you expected a 15 stock portfolio expanded from 15 to 36, you mentioned it was a conscious long-term decision. Now, after 2 months, you have returned to 15 stocks. Why the change? I'll definitely address this one. This has been, in fact, asked by multiple investors from last 2 months, seeing quite a chunk of stocks getting added, removed. I'm still not sure what the strategy is. Can you please share the backtested data since 2012 and compare it to the Gulaq old strategy? And also, how is the new Gulaq strategy different from old Gulaq strategy? So now I'll talk about all of these specific questions that you have asked related to the strategy. Now, what has happened in the past 3 months, and this we have been, I think, telling since last 8 to 9 months that some changes are coming, and main idea of this change would be to reduce the churn that we have been seeing in our portfolios, because churn overall impacts the cost. And obviously, if we can, in that process, improve our portfolios, risk and returns, we would do that as well. So I'll take you through these changes first of all, and also in detail about what these changes are. Now, what has happened here is the old Gulaq portfolio. This has given, this used to have about 12 to 15 stocks on average. Now, these are purely back-tested returns, right? So the back-tested returns over the 10-year duration has been about 39%. The turnover, this is the monthly turnover, in that was 72%, which means roughly 36% buying and 36% selling. And the information ratio was 1.757. Now, information ratio is used to measure the performance of active funds. I'll just quickly take you through this. So information ratio, the basic formula is
Sorry
it,
to interrupt. A lot of people are asking अगर हम हिंदी में बात कर सकें तो आप दोनों लैंग्वेजेस में, हिंदी इंग्लिश दोनों में आप.
okay, sure, Isha. So I was talking about information ratio. Information ratio, like other ratios, इसमें क्या होता है? This is used to measure active portfolio returns. तो हमारा portfolio एक active portfolio है जिसमें हम benchmark को beat करने का try करते हैं, right? तो information ratio का formula ये रहता है कि हम अपने portfolio के returns लेते हैं और उसको माइनस करते हैं from benchmark portfolio returns. So we take the difference of our portfolio versus the benchmark and divided by tracking error. और tracking error में भी हम यही करते हैं कि how far away our returns are with index returns. तो हमारे portfolio returns और index में कितना difference आ रहा है. So that is what information ratio is. Now, if you look at information ratio, पहले जो old गुल्लक portfolio था, which was prior to 3 months back, उसका information ratio 1.57 था. Now we have made these changes. We added a sectoral block. अब उस sectoral block में हम क्या कर रहे थे? Majority of these benefits have come in because of sectoral block. उस sectoral block में हम क्या करते हैं कि हम अपना जैसे हम एक स्टॉक्स को रैंक करते थे बेस्ड ऑन मल्टीपल फैक्टर्स लाइक मोमेंटम वैल्यू, वैसे ही हमने सेक्टर्स को भी रैंक करना स्टार्ट कर दिया. That's what we were doing in sectoral block. And then using the results of it in the final portfolio construction. उसकी वजह से क्या हुआ है कि अब आप देख सकते हैं कि हमारा जो ओवरऑल जो हम लास्ट टू लास्ट मंथ हमने चेंज किया था फ्रॉम 15 stocks to 36 stocks, our CAGR improved slightly from 39 to 40%. Our turnover, which had a huge reduction from 72 to 45%, right? और इसी प्रोसेस में हमारा जो इंफॉर्मेशन रेशियो था, दैट हैज आल्सो इम्प्रूव्ड, विच इंफॉर्मेशन रेशियो हमें ये दिखाता है कि कितना कंसिस्टेंटली हम इंडेक्स को बीट कर पाएंगे. तो इस प्रोसेस में हमने ये सारा इंप्रूवमेंट किया. अब उसके बाद हमारा रिसर्च प्रोसेस हमेशा चलता रहता है. तो उसके बाद विद इन दिस लास्ट 1 month और सो व्हाट वी आइडेंटिफाइड वाज, and there was some smaller changes between this 36 and 15, because of which what we were able to achieve was we were able to enhance the returns from this portfolio of 36 stocks to 40 to 15% to 15 stocks by about 3 to 4%, right? So this a lot of you have asked कि हम पहले 15 stocks पे थे, फिर 36 पे आए और फिर से 15 पे चले गए हैं, तो why are we rolling back? Now again, we are not at all rolling back. We are moving ahead, and we have moved ahead with that sectoral block. This is not a new piece of research that we have added. Now, sectoral block was always part of the PMS strategy which was running. Now, because we were improving it, we wanted to be really sure that when we add it in our Gulaq portfolios, it has to work fine. And that's what we have seen, that it has actually worked fine, and we are pretty confident that this change of adding sectoral block is adding value to our old Gulaq portfolios in terms of all of those things, be it turnover, be it information ratio, or be it the backtested returns. So overall, this is a value add. We are quite confident about this change, and we are not rolling this back. Okay. Now there were a few more questions. And we'll definitely take the questions from YouTube as well. Okay. So please keep on sending your questions if we have missed anything on YouTube. Now, a question from Utsav Mishra is, I've been investing since 2nd July and my returns are negative. Shouldn't 4 months be enough time to see some positive returns? Okay. Another question related to this is, Gulaq Gear 6 was launched on May 2020 and has maximum daily drawdowns of 20% since 25. I'm not sure what's the question here, Kishore. If you can please specify if you are attending the webinar. Next question is, Gulaq Gear 6 methodology has changed every month for the last 3 months. Now, yeah, for the last 3 months, we have changed it twice. We have improved it. So yeah, that's what has happened. The portfolio is down. Now, these two are independent things. Now, the portfolio is down because overall the markets are all are down, and our portfolio is not performing, right? So, but it's not because of this change. This change is for the better. Last 6 months profit has nearly been wiped out after this month's rebalance. So now I wanted to talk about equity investing in general, and also we'll talk about investing in Gulaq Gear 6. Now, see, investing in equity markets is always for the long term. In the short term, markets are obviously volatile, but they are more random in nature, right? So it's hard to correctly predict where the markets would go over the next few months, but over the next few years, we can predict them far better. And what this specific slide shows is chances of Gulaq Gear 6 in terms of percentages. What are the chances of Gulaq Gear 6 beating the benchmark? Now, one of the question was whether 4 months are enough to judge a specific portfolio or to get positive returns. Now here we are talking about positive alpha as compared to the benchmark. Now, if you look at 1 month return, only just any 1 month return, there is about 65% chance that Gulaq Gear 6 will be beating the benchmark, right? So the way to interpret this is कि अगर मेरे पास 10 मंथ हैं टोटल, उन 10 मंथ्स में से रफली 6 से 7 मंथ ऐसे होंगे जिसमें गुल्लक गियर 6 एक्चुअली बीट कर पाएगा, बट 10 में से 3 या 4 मंथ्स ऐसे भी होंगे जब बेंचमार्क बेटर करेगा और गुल्लक गियर 6 रिलेटिवली पुअर परफॉर्म करेगा एज कंपेयर टू द बेंचमार्क। अब ये देखिए कि ये परसेंटेज इंक्रीज होता जा रहा है एज वी कीप इंक्रीजिंग द टाइम फ्रेम। तो अगर 1 मंथ की जगह हम अगर 3 मंथ टाइम फ्रेम में जाते हैं तो ये चांसेस रफली 70% से थोड़े से ज्यादा हो जाएंगे। इंस्टेड ऑफ 65 ये चांस हो जाते हैं 70% की गुल्लक गियर 6 बीट कर पाएगा बेंचमार्क को ओवर एनी 3 मंथ पीरियड। नाउ इफ यू सी, if you hold this portfolio for 1 year, then this chance becomes almost 90%. Now again, the important thing is कि यहाँ पे एक तो chances improve हो रहे हैं। If you keep on increasing your time frame of investing, then the chance of beating the benchmark becomes more and more, ठीक है। बट दूसरा पॉइंट यहाँ पे, एक और पॉइंट यहाँ पे ये इंपॉर्टेंट है कि दिस इज नॉट इवन 100, स्टिल नॉट 100 हियर। तो अगर आप 1 साल के लिए होल्ड करते हैं तो देन देयर इज सम चांस, अबाउट 10% चांस तब भी है कि गुल्लक गियर 6 अंडर परफॉर्म करेगा बेंचमार्क, राइट। तो आउट ऑफ एवरी मे बी 10 years, 1 साल ऐसा आ सकता है या 2 साल भी आ सकते हैं जिसमें गुल्लक गियर 6 की परफॉर्मेंस ऑन अ ईयरली बेसिस खराब होगी एज कंपेयर टू द बेंचमार्क। नाउ वही अगर 2% कर देते हैं तो वो क्लोज टू 100 हो जाता है, बट स्टिल नॉट 100। So the two things that we take away from this data is, first, आप जितना ज्यादा होल्ड करोगे गुल्लक गियर 6 पोर्टफोलियो उतने ज्यादा चांसेस हैं बेंचमार्क को बीट करने के। और दूसरा कि ये चांसेस इवन ऑन अ 1 year या 2 year पीरियड इट्स नॉट 100%। वो 100% वाला सर्टेनिटी आपको नहीं मिलेगा, बट इट विल बी क्लोज टू 100% द मोर यू होल्ड। So this is what I take away. So your question, Utsav, was ki shouldn't 4 months be enough? Now similar trend we have seen in equity markets in general, कि अगर आप 1 मंथ होल्ड करते हो तो रफली 60 to 65% चांस होता है ऑफ गेटिंग पॉजिटिव रिटर्न्स फ्रॉम इक्विटी, राइट। तो इसीलिए बोलते हैं अगर आप 1 साल होल्ड करोगे तो दैट चांस इज अबाउट से 70-75%। तो 4 में से 1 साल नेगेटिव हो सकता है आपका, राइट। तो 4 months इज डेफिनेटली नॉट एनफ टू गेट पॉजिटिव रिटर्न्स आउट ऑफ मार्केट, एंड 4 months or even 6 months is not enough to judge the performance of an active fund. Now here we are talking specifically about Gulaq Gear 6, but these all of this is actually equally valid for any active fund. Let's say अगर आप म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं तो उसमें भी सिमिलर स्टैटिस्टिक्स आएंगे कि म्यूचुअल फंड भी, जो एक्टिव म्यूचुअल फंड है उसमें ऐसा होगा कि वो चांस, लेट्स से आपने 6 मंथ होल्ड किया तो इट्स नॉट 100% सर्टेन कि वो म्यूचुअल फंड आपको बेंचमार्क से बेटर ही रिटर्न देगा, ठीक है। तो चांसेस कुछ होंगे मे बी समवेयर बिटवीन 60 to 80%, बट इट विल नेवर बी 100%। ओके, लेट्स मूव अहेड अ बिट। Again, few of the users have asked about the historical performance of this specific new model that we moved. अब इसमें एक और चीज ये देखने वाली है कि यही आई थिंक सिमिलर चीज जो मैं लास्ट स्लाइड में बात कर रहा था, वो सिमिलर डेटा पॉइंट है। अल्फा हम जो बोलते हैं दैट इज द डिफरेंस इन गुल्लक गियर 6 रिटर्न्स वर्सेस द बेंचमार्क। तो इसमें क्या डेटा पॉइंट हमें दिख रहा है कि लेट्स कंसिडर 6 मंथ पीरियड। तो जो हिस्टोरिकली हमने देखा है एज पर आवर बैक टेस्ट, ओवर अ 6 मंथ पीरियड जो हमारी बेस्ट परफॉर्मेंस रही है दैट हैज बीन 40% अल्फा। तो 40% हमने ज्यादा रिटर्न्स दिए फ्रॉम बेंचमार्क। और जो वर्स्ट परफॉर्मेंस रही है दैट इज रफली 13.8% बिलो द बेंचमार्क। तो जो हम पिछली स्लाइड में बात कर रहे थे कि 6 मंथ में भी चांसेस हैं कि हम थोड़ा लूज करें, एंड वो कितना लूज कर सकते हैं, मैक्सिमम हम कितना लूज कर सकते हैं, मैक्सिमम हम 14% रफली लूज कर सकते हैं ओवर अ 6 मंथ पीरियड, एंड द बेस्ट इज 40%, और जो एवरेज आता है वो 11% आता है। नाउ अभी हमारा आई थिंक लास्ट 6 मंथ्स में अल्फा क्लोज टू जीरो है, +or -1 or 2 परसेंटेज पॉइंट्स। तो अभी ना तो हम ऑब्वियसली 40% से हम बहुत ज्यादा दूर हैं, बट अभी हम 13% के भी क्लोज नहीं है। नाउ माई एक्सपेक्टेशन इज कि ओवर 6 मंथ्स पीरियड हमारे रिटर्न्स कुछ भी इसके बीच में रहेंगे। एवरेज से डेफिनेटली वी आर डूइंग बिलो एवरेज, क्योंकि एवरेज हम एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं कि ओवर 6 मंथ पीरियड हमारा 11% अल्फा जनरेट होगा। तो एवरेज से हम डेफिनेटली अभी खराब कर रहे हैं। अगर आप यही डेटा 2 ईयर वाला देखते हैं, तो बेस्ट जो हम रिटर्न्स प्रोड्यूस किए, अगेन दीज आर ऑल एज पर बैक टेस्ट, तो रफली 118% पॉजिटिव रिटर्न्स, मोर रिटर्न्स एज कंपेयर टू बेंचमार्क। But over a 2 year period, there is a small chance that we will be negative as compared to benchmark। और कितना नेगेटिव होंगे? वो 3.8% बिलो बेंचमार्क हो सकते हैं हम, उतना वर्स्ट केस। और एवरेज 54% है। आई थिंक ओवर 2 ईयर पीरियड जो हमारा अल्फा रहेगा वो रफली अराउंड 40 to 50% एनुलाइज है। तो इस केस में वी आर डूइंग क्लोजर टू एवरेज, बट ओवर शॉर्टर ड्यूरेशन ऑब्वियसली our performance is below average, but it is nowhere close to the worst alpha. And this is something that we keep track on daily and monthly basis, कि हमारी strategies कैसा perform कर रही हैं। So obviously we are aware what is happening in this shorter duration time frame, but equity markets में I think this is not really abnormal। जब तक ये हमारे results इन दोनों बेस्ट और वर्स्ट के बीच में रहेंगे, I think the results would be in normal category, and this is not abnormal. The kind of underperformance that we are seeing over last 3 months or 6 months, this is really not abnormal in case looking at the back test. So we are seeing very good returns also, and now we are seeing some average or below average returns also. Isha, do you have any questions related to this right now that you want to take?
Yeah, Vivek, I wanted to ask a question. Deepak Mittal is asking, what is alpha? So if we can explain that also a bit.
Alpha, इसकी थोड़ी सी टेक्निकल डेफिनेशंस भी हैं, बट हेयर व्हाट वी आर यूजिंग इज, लेट्स से कि BSE 500 एक साल में 12% रिटर्न्स जनरेट करता है, और हमारी स्ट्रैटेजी ने 18% रिटर्न्स जनरेट किए। तो ये जो डिफरेंस है 18 - 12, दिस इज व्हाट वी कॉल अल्फा हेयर, कि हमने कितना बेटर किया एज कंपेयर टू द बेंचमार्क। अब ये जो हम नेगेटिव अल्फा दिखा रहे हैं, दैट मीन्स कि हमने बेंचमार्क से खराब परफॉर्म किया। तो ये हिस्टोरिकल डेटा है जिसमें हमें बेस्ट अल्फा की बेस्ट आउट परफॉर्मेंस बेंचमार्क से कितना ज्यादा हमने किया है और बेंचमार्क से कितना खराब हमने किया है ओवर मल्टीपल टाइम फ्रेम्स, ये हमने दिखाया है।
तो अभी जो जस्ट टू ऐड टू दिस, अभी विवेक ने बोला कि मार्केट्स जितनी नीचे गिरी हैं, गुल्लक भी लगभग उतना ही नीचे गिरा है, विच मीन्स आवर अल्फा इज जीरो। क्योंकि अगर
जीरो या थोड़ा बहुत, हाँ, वो इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द टाइम फ्रेम। आई थिंक ओवर 1 to 3 months थोड़ा नेगेटिव होगा अल्फा, शायद अल्फा है। whereas over 6 to 9 months, in fact I have that chart. So if you see, this is from 1st Jan till date। अगर आप ये देखते हैं तो हमारा अल्फा क्लोज टू जीरो ही आ गया है। तो वी आर परफॉर्म्ड, बीच बीच में ये अल्फा थोड़ा सा आया था जब ब्लू लाइन ऑरेंज से ऊपर थी, but abhi if you consider today this alpha is about 1%, so you can assume कि it's zero for this year। but additionally अगर हम last 12 months का देखते हैं, तो हम अगर 1st of November से अब तक का डेटा देखते हैं, तो अल्फा हमारा अभी भी इसमें सिग्निफिकेंट दिखा रहा है। और ये इसलिए है कि आई थिंक नवंबर दिसंबर जैन उस टाइम हमारा अल्फा काफी अच्छा था, और उसके बाद से ये परफॉर्मेंस हमारी खराब हुई है। तो ओवर लास्ट 12 मंथ्स अगेन यहाँ पे अगर हम देखते हैं तो परफॉर्मेंस इज डिसेंट इनफ। बट अगर किसी ने लास्ट 6 मंथ्स 8 मंथ्स में हमारे साथ इन्वेस्टिंग जर्नी स्टार्ट की है, तो आई कैन इमेजिन दे विल बी अ टैड बिट डिसअपॉइंटेड। बट दैट्स व्हाट वी हैव बीन सेइंग whenever people come to us or ask us, should I subscribe? What we always say is, please look at the longer term performance and then decide. Don't look at 3 month, 6 month performance to decide whether you want to invest or whether you want to redeem, right?
Yeah.
Always
And
look at slightly longer term performance and then decide. Obviously, there are lots of investors who have invested with us over last 6 months. I can imagine they'll be a bit disappointed, but that's what I have to say for you also, that if you stay patient, and this is not for gear 6, this is for equity investing. You have to stay patient in order to make that money. So,
And Vivek, just to add to that point, you said that alpha is 0, but in the chart, if we see the actual returns are still 15%. So from Jan till now, we have had 15% returns. अगर कोई
now,
देखना
yes,
Alpha-
Isha, isme the thing is, these are gross returns. So
yes.
obviously there'll be some slippages and some brokerage cost. So these are gross returns. आपके returns इससे 15% से definitely थोड़े low होंगे
हाँ,
uh,
इनफैक्ट एक
after
क्वेश्चन भी
costs.
है
Yeah.
एक क्वेश्चन भी है कि my returns in the last 1 year have been 13%. This is by Sayan Bhattacharya. So I
Okay,
think
this is a very good data point
yeah.
because I think अगर हम लास्ट एक साल में देखते हैं तो और लास्ट 6 to 9 months में तो आई हैव इन्वेस्टर्स हु से कि मेरे 0% रिटर्न्स हैं या 5-7% है और यहाँ पे 13% भी है ना। तो आई थिंक वही है, इट डिपेंड्स ऑन स्लाइटली व्हेन यू आर रीबैलेंसिंग योर ब्रोकरेज कॉस्ट ऑल ऑफ दोज थिंग्स, बट इट विल बी समवेयर, माय गेस इज कि आई थिंक अगर आपके 10% टाइप्स हैं ऑन एवरेज इट विल बी अराउंड 10 to 12%। आई थिंक 2-3% का स्लिपेज डेफिनेटली होगा इसमें। या
Yeah, and that is obviously less than expected, but it's not very bad because जो अभी the chat box and even Sayan is saying that they are only 13%. So considering markets are going down, I think this is fairly reasonable.
या सी वन ऑफ द थिंग दैट आई वांटेड टू पॉइंट आउट हियर ईशा कि जो हमने अपने 10 year बैक टेस्ट जो अभी रिजल्ट शेयर किए थे, ठीक है, ऑब्वियसली ये एक तो बैक टेस्ट है तो आप इसको उतना ही इसको इम्पोर्टेंस दीजिएगा। दिस इज नॉट, वी आर नॉट सेइंग कि वी विल प्रोड्यूस दिस 40 or 43% इन नेक्स्ट 10 years, राइट? दिस इज व्हाट दिस स्ट्रेटजी हैज प्रोड्यूस्ड ओवर लास्ट 10 years। अब इसमें देखिए कि अगर आप लेते हैं BSE 500 which is 14% versus let's say if the strategy is able to produce somewhere around 40 over a 10 year period, what this will entail, आपके रिटर्न्स इक्विटी में बनाना, बहुत अच्छे रिटर्न्स आते हैं इक्विटी में, दैट वी हैव हर्ड, ओवर लॉन्ग रन यू कैन मेक वेरी गुड मनी, राइट? बट इट्स नॉट इजी, राइट? what is required is कि you hold on to your equity investments for long term, and it will always, your patience will be tested, your faith will be tested in equity markets. अभी तो in fact market I think 8 to 10% ही गिरा है, which is kind of a correction which happens almost every year, but 15 to 20% kind of correction also happens every maybe 3 years or so, right? So you have to go through that kind of correction of 10%, 15, 20% or even larger in order to make these very good returns over 5 years, 10 years, right? So this is where the situation becomes tricky. We all know the India growth story over next 10 years, कि बहुत अच्छी growth होगी इंडिया में, equities will give very good returns. I think none of that is doubted. Only problem is कि whether we will be able to get those kind of returns, and that will only be possible if we stay invested through these downturns. This is nothing abnormal which is happening either with Gulaq or with markets. Markets have corrected about 10%, not too much.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have a question which is very strange. So Rajesh is asking that please don't provide false data. The last 2 year CAGR for Gear 6 is around 56-57%, while the benchmark return is approximately 22 to 23%. How can the alpha be close to 54? So are we claiming that the alpha is 54 anywhere for last 2 years?
I don't know
We
from
had
where.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, this is the average alpha. Yeah. So the question is what has happened, actually happened, and what is, this is definitely not false. What I have said earlier multiple times is these are as per the back test. तो अभी जो strategy run हो रही है, जब हमने इसको last 10-12 years के data पे test किया, तब ये average alpha आ रहा था 54% over 2 year period. This is something I've already told कि you should discount these numbers a bit, not a bit, but maybe a lot, right? So you should discount these numbers. और जो अभी ईशा आपने बताया जो नंबर था, that is actually what we have produced.
Yeah,
So there is a
which is
difference
pretty
between actual versus the back test. Obviously, the reality could be very different. The reality could be better than the back test, or it could be worse than the back test.
Yeah. And in fact, I'm surprised, because I was going through some influencer on YouTube, two influencers actually,
Yeah.
small influencers having 5,000 followers. They were talking about our small case and they were evaluating it. And they were saying that, hey, Gulaq in the last year, when they had evaluated, they said Gulaq in the last year has given 41% returns. After doing all, and this is gross, net करके शायद कुछ 35 आ रहा था. And they said that ये सब करने के बाद भी अगर आपको सिर्फ 35% रिटर्न एक ईयर में मिल रहा है तो क्या फायदा. So even like, for example, Rajesh has mentioned that the return is 57% CAGR, which means 57% in each year. That is quite a bit. So the expectations of investors, I think, are a little too high.
Yeah, Isha,
Well,
this we have been saying since beginning of this year कि last कुछ सालों में equity market के returns बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छे रहे हैं. And to expect that same returns to continue over long run is unreasonable, and those investors would be disappointed. Now, ये तो आपने बात की कुछ influencers की. I'm sure there are few good influencers also, but बहुत ज़्यादा influencers ऐसे हैं, even with million followers, who really don't know what they're talking about, frankly. So, and even in this, I think what I would like to again highlight here is I don't want to set any wrong expectations here. These are again back test. People ask almost in every webinar ki what is our expectation. And what I say is BSC 500 अगर 12 to 15% returns generate करता है, after costs, if Gulaq can generate 20% returns, I personally will be very happy. And I have obviously invested in Gulaq Gear 6 quite aggressively. So if over 10-year period 20% returns अगर Gulaq generate कर पाता है after costs, I think I personally will be very happy with those returns. So you need to, I think, have reasonable expectations over long run. अब एक एक साल में तो ऐसा भी हुआ है कि 50% 70% returns generate हुए हैं in last few years, but those kind of returns are definitely not sustainable over long run.
Right.
Yeah.
Then Dharmraj is saying, when can we add more money to recover the loss?
So Dharmraj, see, stop sharing now. Dharmraj, I think you should not link it to the equity markets, how much they are correcting. So if you have excess cash which is not yet invested, I think it's a good time. Maybe you divide it into 3 parts and invest it over next 3 months. But I think most of us are getting frequent income, let's say monthly, quarterly, whatever, depending on the business, what business you are doing or whether you are in a job. But most of us here are professionals where we get monthly salary, we have monthly expenses, and we save something from that on a monthly basis. So the best approach is that you keep investing, not in equity, everything, but in a balanced way between equity and debt on a monthly basis. That is the best approach. If you have excess capital which you haven't invested, which you are waiting for correction, then maybe you can put it now, everything, or maybe in next 2 to 3 months you can put everything. Yeah.
So Vivek, do you want to cover all the questions in the PPT, or should we first, like, then we can take all the questions of YouTube
Okay,
also.
so let me share my screen once again. Okay. Let me know if it is visible. You can see my screen?
Yes, now I can.
Okay. So, yeah. So we got one more question from Vinesh. Why wait for monthly rebalance when some stocks or market sentiments show a clear bearish trend? I appreciate a strategy where rebalancing happens as and when required. So Vinesh, we have actually tested this in our back tests. We have tested this kind of strategy कि जब भी correction हो रहा है, whether market wide or individual stocks में, then we have a stop loss in place for those stocks and we get out of those stocks, right? So what that strategy, if I have to include that thing, that has to work over long run. Now कभी कभी तो वो वाली strategy work करती है in back test for a year or two, it seems to be working. But if I see over long run, whether that strategy of as and when required rebalancing works or not, it does not work. So it works in bits and pieces, but overall to follow one strategy, it's not a very good strategy. It does not produce as good returns as the current Gulaq strategy produces. So this is something that we have tested earlier, and it does not seem to work as well as this one, right? तो बीच बीच में डेफिनेटली ऐसा होगा कि हमारे कुछ स्टॉक्स होंगे जो या तो काफी ज्यादा करेक्ट कर जाएंगे ड्यूरिंग द मंथ, या ऐसा भी होगा कि हमने जैसे ही उसको सेल किया उसके बाद वो राइज करना स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं। तो दिस हैपेंस, एंड करंटली अभी जैसे लास्ट 6 मंथ्स में हमारी स्ट्रेटजी बहुत अच्छा परफॉर्म नहीं कर रही है, तो अभी लास्ट 6 मंथ्स में इस टाइप के इंस्टेंसेस और ज्यादा कॉमन भी हमें मिलेंगे, राइट? बट व्हाट वी हैव टू सी on any strategy, the kind of strategy that we are following, which is quantitative, systematic, rule based strategy, तो उसमें हमें वैसे ही रूल्स चूज करने होंगे which actually work over long run, right? Next is, could the rebalancing date be moved to 10th, 15th or done as needed basis? So yeah, Soumya, I think this is what I have covered in the previous question. Okay. Now, next question is, instead of selling most stocks monthly, could you consider holding quality stocks for 2, 3 months and only selling in those? I've noticed that some stocks sold. Yeah, this is what I was mentioning in the previous slide, that over the last 6 months, I think इस type के instances obviously थोड़े common हो गए, and that's why you are seeing कि हमारा alpha भी close to zero है, because of these kind of instances only. But what I want to say to you is, rest assured, this specific strategy which is in place right now, or even the earlier strategy, over long run, this works. There'll definitely be pieces, shorter time frames when we will underperform the market, right? अभी एक्चुअली ये भी ज्यादा हुआ है बिकॉज वी एक्चुअली मूव फ्रॉम 36 टू 15 स्टॉक्स, तो इसलिए भी वो सेलिंग थोड़ी सी ज्यादा हुई है स्टॉक्स में। But otherwise also I can imagine कि last 6 months में there have been many instances, it's been far too common कि जब हम stocks बेच रहे हैं वो चढ़ रहा है, and this is I think normal. This is a time where we are not performing well for some months. This keeps happening every few quarters, every few years. Last month lots of stocks were in negative. Don't you cut losses quickly? Yeah. So Pankaj, this is what ours is a very rule-based strategy. I don't know what other managers you're talking about, but हमारी strategy बहुत rule-based है, systematic है। तो हम जो भी चीजें करेंगे, जो भी decision लेंगे, you don't want us to deviate from what we are good at. We are good at defining these rules of selecting and exiting from this stock, right? तो वी डोंट वांट टू यूज आवर डिस्कशन कि यार मेरे को लग रहा है ये वाला स्पेसिफिक स्टॉक अच्छा नहीं कर रहा है तो इसको निकल जाते हैं। दैट्स नॉट समथिंग वी आर गुड एट। वी आर गुड एट डिफाइनिंग, कंस्ट्रक्टिंग दीज सिस्टमैटिक स्ट्रेटजीज। तो या next is, I hope we are not sacrificing potential gains just to reduce churn. So Shubham, I think what we have shown earlier, we are definitely not reducing our potential gains. In fact, they have become better because of this change, along with reduction in returns, which is from about 75% to 52% reduce हुआ है हमारा monthly churn. As a subscriber, I am comfortable with high risk and churn if it leads to higher returns. So yeah, I've already showed the changes. So it's better returns to be expected at a lower churn. Small case has not been performing well. How do you plan to improve? So we obviously plan to improve, and that's what our research team does. This is not because we don't plan to improve because we are not performing well, but because we keep getting new data, we are learning new things every month, every quarter, and that's why we keep on improving our strategies. It's not really because our performance has not been well. So even if we were doing well last year, we were doing well, but we have been constantly working on improving our strategies, right? Is there any chance of including EV and banking sectors? Again, Uday, the feature or the problem of these quant-based strategies is you can't predict what is going to happen. So if you ask me in the next rebalance, whether EV or banking or any other sector would be increased or decreased, I really would not have answers to this because this is based on uh, huge data points that we are considering, which includes obviously the technical data, but also lots of fundamental data. Now results have come in, so we'll be including all of that data also. And many macroeconomic factors also. This is dependent on so many things that it's really very hard for us to comment what is going to happen in the next month. Gulaq Gear 6 seems to have significant drawdowns when the markets fall, but its upside during the rallies isn't as strong. Now, I would like to contest what you have pointed out here, Shubham, because I would show you this data. One sec. Yeah, this one. Sorry. This one. So, see, if you see wherever in the years that we have performed well, so we started in 2020, every year we have performed well, and the kind of alpha that we have produced is in this year 2020, it was about 22%. Next, it became 34%. Then in this year, it was 18%. And this year, it was close to 40%. So, and this year, we are not performing well, right? We are close to break even. So, what this says is when we perform well, our alpha has been in the range of almost 40% to about 18%, in that range, right? Which is very significant alpha. Whereas when we underperform the market, how much are we losing? Which is really not so much. Maybe यहाँ पे these are gross numbers. If you include some costs, maybe we are down by 3-4 percentage points as compared to the benchmark index. But this is the whole story. Over any 5-year period, there'll be one year where we will underperform, but the extent of underperformance is really not huge. Whereas when we actually were doing well, we have generated huge returns, and these are actual returns for investors that we have produced over last 4-5 years. Yeah. Okay. So we covered this. Yeah. So we are taking Shubham's question. This could be why our total returns, it feels that we are playing it safe, but yeah. So Shubham, I've told you, it's really not the case ki when rallies are occurring, we are still not having too much of upside, because as I've shown you over the years, we have given significant upside. This year obviously has been tough year for us, and we haven't lost as much. The underperformance is all really not that huge. It's very small, very minor underperformance. Okay, Vishal has said, given the current market conditions, is it a good time to average down on PSU stocks that are currently in the red for the long term, or should we? So, Vishal, I am not, our team, we are not experts in specifically calling the markets, whether it's good time to enter market or also which sector it's going to perform well. We invest, all of us have been investing with Gulaq 6 because it takes out all of this decision making from the picture. This is really a stressful task to figure out which stock to buy, which stocks to sell. So that's why we made these algorithms to make our life easier, to make our investors' life easier as well, right? So I really don't take a call myself also on which sector is going to perform, because overall I know over long run, if I stay invested with Gulaq Gear 6, it's going to give me a decent return. So again, no predictions here. But if you're asking me whether it's a good time to enter markets, if you have excess cash, then definitely yes. Otherwise, the best strategy and the simplest of strategy is use SIPs to enter the market. Vishal is asking again, based on the results from the companies this quarter, where do you see improvements? So again, Vishal, we don't predict what is going to happen, whether with individual sectors, returns, or performance of these companies. We don't predict, we adapt. That's how our strategy works, right? So if a company's results are not good and their returns are also not good, they will not get selected in our portfolio. Only those companies will get selected which are doing well on the multiple parameters of quality, of momentum, of value. Those multiple parameters that we are using to select our stocks, only those companies will get selected. So again, we really can't predict what's going to happen with the results of these companies. Yeah, so that's it from our side. Eesha, we can take questions from YouTube as well.
Yeah, Vivek, there are lots of questions. So let me start in the chronological order, maybe. So I think one question from Pankaj was that, again, I think you've already covered it, that lots of stocks were down, even 20%. And this month also, this is happening. Is this okay? So I think we have already covered it in some way or the other. Basically, the concern was that a lot of profits are being wiped out. So we have kind of explained the rationale behind the same. Then Pankaj also says he's been trying to contact our phone and writing emails to us. So Pankaj, I will take a note of this and I will check which emails we have received from you. If let's say you've written to us from an email ID which does not have Pankaj, your name, please let me know over here so that I can check the emails from the specific ID. And we can also check your subscription. If you are a subscriber, I can see the contact number and we can reach out to you. Or you have the option of again sending your email ID and phone number here to me. Anything is okay. But this
So,
usually does
Eesha, one of the things that I would like to highlight here is that we have obviously, in terms of number of subscribers, we have close to 20,000 subscribers now. And people were more or less happy with our performance and they haven't been writing to us. But last 3 months, obviously, many people are not that happy and they have been writing to us a lot, right? So we haven't, I think, done a very good job of responding to these questions because we were understaffed, because we never expected we'll get this kind of response. Now, obviously, when people are happy, they won't write as much, but they'll only write to us when we are underperforming. So we are slightly understaffed, but we are taking, we have now noticed this, that we have not been really able to communicate well with everyone. So we'll set this in order. Yeah.
Sure. And I hope we'll be, taking care of the backlog. If there are emails even from
Yes,
6
definitely. Yeah.
back, we will start replying to all or at least calling them up so that we can at least reach out to them and answer their questions. So that should be taken care of.
Definitely. Yeah.
Then Ash says exited from the small case today, negative returns over 12%. That's a high number. But again, what we have shared in the data is something similar.
Yeah, from the peak, maybe markets are also down 8-10%, and we are also down. So this is a possibility that somebody has lost some money if they have entered in last few months.
In fact, it's funny because, in my family also someone had subscribed and
Okay.
I was telling this to you, Vivek, earlier on that in the last 6 months up till October beginning, they were at around 20% returns.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
from April
Now
till
they
now they have lost 10%. So they are from 20, they are at 10%. But my advice to them has been the same, that stay with it, because like we have seen in a 6-month period, the probability of loss is, I think, probability of success is 65%, and only when we increase the probability of loss decreases. So we should stick with it and see how it performs in the long term, and also discount the fact that the markets are also falling. So that's been my advice to people who
Yeah,
have
and please
subscribed.
share the link of this webinar with them.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think they were convinced, they believe, they trust us. So they know, I think the benefit is since they know me and they see how we are
Yeah,
working, they are more comfortable from my immediate family.
that definitely helps. Yeah.
That helps. The people, it's about to communicate the
Yeah,
same
in fact, yeah,
audience.
that's the whole purpose of these webinars also, that to the extent it is possible, people get to know about us, what we are doing, what's our investing philosophy, and what are we thinking about our underperformance or the markets, all of that.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so a lot of other questions. I'll take them one by one. Arun says if I have 100 to invest and want to stagger the investment till end of March 25, how much would you recommend to invest now, or would you recommend I split it equally across the 4 months?
Yeah, I think it's really what I would say is you split it equally across the next 4 months. The good part is no matter where the market is, at least by March, you would have invested 100% into the markets. And what could happen is, let's say if there is more correction, then instead of 4 months, you can actually as well invest in 2 or 3 months. So that's an option you have, right? Yeah, that's what. But what you should not do is, let's say sometimes people make a plan that in every 5% correction, I'll invest 25%. So I think that is really a bad plan, because if really that 5% or 10% correction does not happen, and if the markets keep on rising, then you'll just be outside the markets. You wouldn't be invested.
Right.
So don't market levels to invest, but use that simple time frames to invest.
ओके, बलबीर इज आस्किंग कि मेरे पोर्टफोलियो में लगभग 25 शेयर्स थे और उसमें घाटा भी हुआ, लेकिन ये स्टॉक्स जब बेच दिए थे, जब वो घाटे में थे, तो वापस इनको पोर्टफोलियो में क्यों ऐड किया गया? हिंदी में अगर फिर से रिस्पेक्ट
बलबीर, ये जो हमारी स्ट्रैटेजी है, इसमें जो हम अभी चर्न की बात कर रहे थे, जो बाइंग और सेलिंग होती है, तो ये जो क्वांट स्ट्रेटजीज होती हैं, उसमें बाइंग और सेलिंग रिलेटिवली थोड़ी ज्यादा होती है। जो एक दूसरा तरीका है, जो ट्रेडिशनल तरीका है, कि जो फंड मैनेजर्स हैं जो बहुत ज्यादा रिसर्च करते हैं एक स्टॉक को और तभी बाय करते हैं, तो उनका होल्डिंग पीरियड इजीली बहुत लंबा होता है, 6 मंथ्स 1 ईयर तो बहुत ईजी होता है, और ज्यादा भी होता है। और जो क्वांट स्ट्रेटजीज होती हैं, उसमें क्या होता है कि बिकॉज हम जो डेटा है वो काफी हाई फ्रीक्वेंसी डेटा है, जो ऐसा डेटा है जो डेली बेसिस पे चेंज होता है, तो जब हम मंथली बेसिस पे अपना पोर्टफोलियो रीबैलेंस करते हैं तो उसमें काफी ज्यादा चेंजेस आ जाते हैं, इसीलिए वो चर्न ज्यादा होता है। अब ये डेफिनेटली हो सकता है कि लास्ट मंथ मैंने एक स्टॉक बेचा और इस मंथ वो फिर से मैंने बोला कि ये खरीद लो, तो इस टाइप की चीजें डेफिनेटली होती हैं। बट इसका एक एडवांटेज भी है, इसका एक डिसएडवांटेज भी ऑल कैन अंडरस्टैंड, बट इसका एडवांटेज भी है। इसका एडवांटेज ये है कि अगर एक स्टॉक नीचे जा रहा है तो एटलीस्ट मंथ के एंड पे वो निकल जाएगा। अब मेरे को आगे का नहीं पता, हो सकता है वो नीचे ही जाता रहेगा, तो ये वाला मेरा डिसीजन एक्चुअली अच्छा डिसीजन रहा होगा। बट कभी कभार ऐसा भी होता है, जो आजकल हो रहा है, कि हमने बेच दिया, वो मार्केट वो स्टॉक फिर से ऊपर आ गया और फिर हम बोल रहे हैं कि ऊपर वाले लेवल पे आप खरीद लो, राइट? तो इस टाइप की चीजें थोड़ी सी क्वांट स्ट्रैटेजीज में, बिकॉज ऑफ द नेचर जिस टाइप से हम ये क्वांट स्ट्रैटेजीज बनाते हैं, चर्न थोड़ा सा ज्यादा होता है, और इस टाइप से कुछ कुछ स्टॉक्स में होता है। और इसीलिए जो हम बोलते हैं कि आप जो पोर्टफोलियो की परफॉर्मेंस है, आप इंडिविजुअल स्टॉक्स पे मत जाइए, क्योंकि दैट इज नॉट द राइट वे टू मेजर और टू एसेस अ स्ट्रैटेजी, राइट? आप पूरे पोर्टफोलियो लेवल पे देखिए कि कितने रिटर्न्स आ रहे हैं, और उसको भी थोड़ा सा लॉन्गर टाइम फ्रेम में देखिए। दैट इज द बेस्ट वे टू जज अ स्ट्रैटेजी, हाउ इज इट परफॉर्मिंग। अब हमेशा, इवन लास्ट ईयर हमारे बहुत अच्छे रिटर्न्स थे, आई थिंक 60-70% कुछ थे शायद। इवन लास्ट ईयर भी बहुत सारे ऐसे स्टॉक्स थे जिसमें हमने लॉस बुक किया है। तो ऐसा नहीं है कि लास्ट ईयर हमारी सारी कॉल्स पॉजिटिव ही रही हैं, तो बहुत सारी ऐसी कॉल्स थी जो नेगेटिव भी रही हैं। बट ओवरऑल एज अ पोर्टफोलियो हमने कैसा परफॉर्म किया, दैट्स द राइट वे टू लुक एट इट। और उसको आप 1 महीने या 3 महीने के टाइम फ्रेम पे मत देखिए, आप थोड़ा सा लॉन्गर टाइम फ्रेम पे देखिए। दैट विल बी द राइट वे टू जज हाउ अ पोर्टफोलियो इज डूइंग।
So, Vivek, few questions which are of similar kind. I will read all of them together. So,
Yeah.
some stock market with Dr. Rahul says that Gulaq team is completely confused. They don't know what they are doing.
Yeah.
And he's also, sending some hate messages, which is actually not good, but it's okay. There are other people who ask some targeted, pointed questions about the same.
Yeah.
So, Manu George says, I still don't understand why we changed from 36 to 15 now. You are saying the improved strategy is not changed even now. So if the strategy was achievable with 15 stocks, then why did you go for 36?
Yeah.
And
so, Manu,
then another is saying that my
yeah.
returns went to negative, not sure what's going on. So
Sorry, Eesha, I couldn't understand the second part. Can you repeat that?
Sure. So he said this only, that the not sure why the stocks reduced from 36 to 15. You were saying the improved strategy is not changed even now. So if the strategy was achievable with 15 stocks, then why did you go for 36 at the first place? So
Yeah.
basically he's saying 15, then 36, then again 15, 16. Why did that happen? I think we explained that at the beginning of the webinar, but people are still not 100% sure why we did it. If you can just
So let
elaborate.
me try to explain it once again. So what has happened is the major change that happened was the inclusion of sectoral block, जिसमें हमने सेक्टर्स को भी रैंक करना स्टार्ट कर दिया था। तो उस मेजर चेंज की वजह से हम जो गए थे वो 15 से 36 स्टॉक्स पे गए थे, बिकॉज वी सॉ इम्प्रूवमेंट्स अक्रॉस बोर्ड, बी इट इन रिटर्न्स और रिडक्शन ऑफ रिस्क और चर्न, रिडक्शन इन चर्न। अब उसके बाद क्या हुआ है कि कंटिन्यूसली कीप मेकिंग इम्प्रूवमेंट्स। तो एक जो मेजर चेंज हुआ था वो सेक्टरल ब्लॉक एडिशन की वजह से हुआ था। अब विद इन दैट सेक्टरल ब्लॉक एडिशन we again made few changes which were smaller changes, which are not as big as the inclusion of sectoral change। तो उसके बाद भी हमने जो अपनी स्ट्रैटेजी को फाइन ट्यून किया है, जब उसके बाद हमने देखा है कि ये जो 15 स्टॉक्स वाली स्ट्रैटेजी थी दैट हैज वर्कड इवन बेटर देन 36। तो वो बेटर किस टर्म्स में हुई? इन टर्म्स ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन रेशियो, एंड दैट्स द थिंग दैट वी ऑप्टिमाइज, कि हमारे लिए बेस्ट थिंग इज कि जो स्ट्रैटेजी बेस्ट इंफॉर्मेशन रेशियो दे रही होगी हम उसी पे जाएंगे। ठीक है, तो जो 36 से 15 पे गए हैं, देयर वर फ्यू मोर माइनर चेंजेस बिकॉज ऑफ विच वी सॉ कि जो सेम 36 वाली स्ट्रैटेजी थी उसका इंफॉर्मेशन रेशियो 15 वाले से लोअर था, and that is why we moved to the 15 strategy। Obviously there have been lot of comments regarding ki there have been lot of feedback ki we want a concentrated strategy। Now we definitely do take into account everyone's feedback, but what we want to offer is as per the data what is looking best। अब डेटा हो सकता है, जैसे पीएमएस की बात मैं बताता हूँ। पीएमएस में क्या होता है कि एवरीवन इन पीएमएस ऑफर्स अ वेरी कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड स्ट्रेटजी ऑफ 15 to 20 स्टॉक्स। अब सबको ये लगता है कि अगर हमारा पोर्टफोलियो 80-90 स्टॉक्स का होगा तो हम अल्फा जनरेट कर ही नहीं सकते, राइट? तो व्हेन पीपल कम टू अस दे गिव अस फीडबैक कि आप 15-20 स्टॉक्स का पीएमएस का पोर्टफोलियो बनाइए, बट वी गो एज पर द डेटा। जब हम डेटा लेके जाते हैं उनके पास, हम बोलते हैं कि ये 80 to 90 स्टॉक्स का पोर्टफोलियो जो है ये ऑन अ पोर्टफोलियो ऑफ 50 लाख वर्क्स द बेस्ट, राइट? तो सेम थिंग इज हैपनिंग हियर। We are obviously taking everyone's feedback into account, but that is not the reason for this change back to 15। The reason is because of the improvements even in that 36 stock portfolio। हमने जब changes किए, हमने जब उसे और फाइन ट्यून किया, उसके बाद हमने जो ऑब्जर्व किया कि जो फाइन ट्यून होने के बाद हम इंफॉर्मेशन रेशियो और इंप्रूव कर पाए हैं इन अ 15 स्टॉक पोर्टफोलियो, and that is why we moved to 15, not because of feedback। Actually it's not that we are ignoring the feedback, but we give much more importance to what the data is telling us।
In fact, just to add to this, we received a lot of feedback, even from clients, who are saying कि 36 stocks means brokerage हमें ज्यादा देनी पड़ रही है। तो हमारा churn reduce हुआ। आपको याद होगा 3-4 महीने या I think 6 months से हम बता रहे हैं कि we are working on a portfolio where the churn will be reduced। So churn reduce हुआ, but जो 36 stocks है, even with reduced churn, सब लोग यही कह रहे थे कि हमें brokerage ज्यादा देनी पड़ रही है। So what we did was, looking at the feedback, we said, okay, we will take a decision based on data। Like Vivek said, feedback भी हम consider करते हैं, but data holds the prime importance। So we went back, we discussed it in detail, and we saw that the data says अगर हम sectoral blocks रखना चाहें तो turnover, which is the churn, वो तो कम रहेगा ही, लेकिन साथ में अगर हम स्टॉक्स को और कम कर दें तो उसके साथ साथ इंफॉर्मेशन रेशियो और बेटर हो जाएगा। सो वी अप्लाइड फ्यू मोर techniques, and we figured that 15 stocks with the additional sectoral block, with the additional changes, we did not revert it to the old portfolio, the old methodology. In the new methodology only, we tried to work further on how to reduce the number of stocks, and we saw कि जो churn decrease हुआ था। So churn जैसे 72 से roughly 45 हो गया था, अब 50 हो गया है। तो चर्न 50 के साथ भी इंफॉर्मेशन रेशियो बेटर हो गया, जिसको विवेक ने डिटेल में समझाया कि होता क्या है. And the returns, the 10-year CAGR on backtested data also became better. So we were sure that okay, this is what should be done. Unfortunately, वो काफी soon हो गया. तो वो ऐसा रहा कि एक मंथ में हमने 36 स्टॉक्स करे, दूसरे में हमने 15 करे, तो डेफिनेटली बहुत सारे स्टॉक्स हमें बेचने पड़े. तो वो चर्न एक्चुअली आपको 100% और सो दिख रहा है, जो कि बहुत ज्यादा है. बट दिस वॉज अ वन टाइम थिंग, and now it should not happen. Now it will stick to 15 stocks, around 15
Exactly.
stocks, and it
Yeah.
will
See.
go
Yeah.
on with the same, with a reduced churn still from the last portfolio जो 12 से 15 स्टॉक्स का था. तो चर्न भी रिड्यूस हो गया, इंफॉर्मेशन रेशियो भी बेटर हो गया, एंड नंबर ऑफ स्टॉक्स वापस 15 हो गए विद सम इम्प्रूव्ड स्ट्रेटजी. रिटर्न्स केगर, बैक टेस्टेड रिटर्न्स के हिसाब से केगर भी बेटर हो गया. सो दिस इज.
And see, the 2 points what I'd like to highlight is one is key, we are more or less done with these major changes. Now, there might be smaller changes across every quarter, but there'll be really minor changes. Those major changes shouldn't happen in the near future. That is one thing. And second thing is, a lot of people are correlating these changes with the performance. Now, performance, obviously, it's not correlated with this change. क्योंकि अगर हम जो पुराना गुल्लक जो 12 to 15 स्टॉक का पोर्टफोलियो है, अगर हम अभी उस पे भी होते तो उसकी भी परफॉर्मेंस सिमिलर या इससे थोड़े कम ही होती. तो इट्स नॉट रियली बिकॉज ऑफ दिस चेंज दैट वी आर सीइंग डिग्रेड इन परफॉर्मेंस. Degrade is performance is because of two reasons. One is overall markets are down, and second is our strategy for the past few months hasn't been performing as well. राइट. सो दीज टू थिंग्स शुड, दे आर नॉट रियली कोरिलेटेड कि हमने चेंज किया और तभी परफॉर्मेंस खराब हुई है. इट्स रियली नॉट दैट.
Okay, Vivek, now let's move on to the next question. Oh, Arun just says that he's been investing in Gear 6 for more than 2 years and he's happy with the returns. Gulaq Gear 6 is one of my favorite small case managers. Thanks a lot. So thanks a lot.
That's so good to hear today.
Even Pankaj says, I'm still happy, just want to make sure if I'm rebalancing correctly. All right, all right.
Right.
And he says that Pankaj was the one who tried to reach out to us and he was unable to get through. He just wants to check if he's rebalancing correctly, and that's why he's trying to reach out to us. So yeah, Pankaj, like I said, we will definitely figure out. If we haven't replied to your mail, we will get back to you. And like Vivek said, we have been going a little slow. तो हमारा response rate, receipt rate से थोड़ा कम चल रहा है, but we'll try to improve on it as well. Anita says we want weekly rebalance small case. And I did see other comments,
Yeah.
Vivek. They said, can we do bi-weekly, bi-monthly, it's a month rebalance. Someone said, can we do rebalance on a need basis जब risk ज़्यादा बढ़ रहा है stock का, हमें लग रहा है कि बहुत fall हो रहा है हमारा portfolio, can we do rebalance then? So if you
So
can
I
touch.
think need basis पे तो मैंने already explain किया है कि we have tested this. Even this weekly thing we have tested. And weekly what we have seen is कि our gross returns would be slightly higher, but weekly में आपका churn बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ जाता है because आप month में 4 बार rebalance कर रहे हो. तो आपका एक्चुअली churn के साथ जो brokerage cost है, जो slippages हैं, वो बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ जाएंगी. तो एट द एंड ऑफ द डे मैं ग्रॉस रिटर्न्स तो आपको बेटर प्रोड्यूस दिखा सकता हूँ, बट द रिटर्न्स दैट यू विल रियलाइज आफ्टर योर स्लिपेजेस, आफ्टर योर चर्न कॉस्ट, ब्रोकरेजेस, that will actually be lower than the monthly rebalance. So it really does not work on a weekly basis. The most optimized one is on a monthly basis only.
Okay, then a suggestion from Rajesh, it's a good one, that do we have a WhatsApp group for subscribed customers to update the latest news? I don't think we have
Yeah,
anything right
we
now.
don't have, but I think it's high time we start a WhatsApp group. We
Yeah.
have obviously received this feedback from others also. So yeah, we will definitely plan it out soon and start a WhatsApp group or a channel.
Okay. Then Kritish says that some stocks have 40 to 50% loss in the portfolio. Okay, this I'll have to check. Shouldn't we have a stop loss in place to ensure stocks don't go below a certain value?
Yeah, so stop losses again, as I told, stop losses does not work. we have tested this out, and stop losses really don't work in the long run. Maybe one or two stocks might work that you might observe, but over long run, really, this does not work well. Yeah.
Sujay says, how old is Gear 6 strategy? So Sujay, we have been live since 2020. You will see the live
May
returns.
2020, yeah.
They will be from May 2020 से आप हमारे रिटर्न्स देख सकते हैं st.smallcase.com पे आप जाइए ईयर 6 इज वन ऑफ आवर ओल्डेस्ट पोर्टफोलियोज आपको लाइव रिटर्न्स दिख जाएंगे देन Raju says sir please tell me if after increasing taxes does gear 6 really beat the mutual funds.
तो राजू, इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द टाइम फ्रेम. अगर आप लास्ट 6 मंथ्स का टाइम फ्रेम देखेंगे तो द आंसर वुड बी नो, राइट. अगर आप थोड़ा सा लंबा टाइम फ्रेम देखते हैं, लेट्स से 3 ईयर, या जब से हम लाइव हुए हैं मई 2020 से, द आंसर वुड बी यस. बट इट्स नॉट दैट कि आपको सिर्फ एक प्रोडक्ट ही सेलेक्ट करना है अपने पूरे पोर्टफोलियो में. I think as a balanced portfolio, you should, I think mutual funds definitely are a very good product, और वहाँ पे जो tax advantage है, small cases can't beat that, right? But then there are few small cases strategies which those strategies are not really available as a mutual fund. तो वो भी एक एडवांटेज है. तो आई पर्सनली, एंड इनफैक्ट आई नो गुल्लक टीम, वी इन्वेस्ट both in mutual funds also and in Gulaq Gear 6 also. So it's not that ki one is better than the other, but I think overall, as a balanced strategy, have few mutual funds which have their own advantages versus have Gulaq Gear 6 which has its own advantages. Yeah, in fact, we are discussing this quite actively in our firm. Should we be launching our own mutual fund? So that is currently under discussion. Yeah, but for now, I think have both. It's not one or the other.
Yes. Yeah, I agree, Vivek. I think I've also mentioned in the previous webinars that, I have 33 roughly percent of my savings in Gulaq, and the rest are divided into 3 mutual funds equally. So even I think all the investors from within our company, also our team members who have invested in Gear 6 usually hold 30 to 40% of their wealth in Gear 6, and Gear 6 or Gear 5 or 4, depending on their asset allocation. And rest of the funds are in mutual funds, in fact. So
Yeah.
also the timing, like Vivek said, it depends on the time, which time you are comparing and how the performance has been during that period. Okay, Vishwanath is asking about our strategy in detail, and does it completely base on algo, or is it also considering other factors like fund managers' view on current economic conditions and company's profile?
Yeah, so strategy के बारे में हमने काफी बात की हुई है पहले, but I think this specific question की is it completely automated? Yes, it is completely automated. Whether it considers our views, no, it does not consider our view, but this specific factor कि इकोनॉमी में क्या हो रहा है, जो मैंने बताया था कि हम मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक फैक्टर्स लेते हैं कि ओवरऑल इकोनॉमी की ग्रोथ रेट क्या है, या इन्फ्लेशन कितना है, या फिर प्राइसेस ऑफ एसेंशियल कमोडिटीज क्या हैं. तो वी डू टेक ऑल ऑफ दिस इनटू अकाउंट. तो हमारे एल्गोज एक्चुअली ये सारा डेटा एल्गोज प्रोसेस करते हैं, देन दे डिसाइड. तो we are taking all of these factors into account, but I personally don't sit and decide कि हाँ अभी मेरे को आईटी सेक्टर अच्छा लग रहा है या अभी मेरे को मेटल्स अच्छा लग रहा है. I don't decide that, but we use all of this data. Our algorithms use all of this data.
Then Shri is asking, what is the impact of FII record selling in Gulaq 6, and how much Gulaq small case exposure do FIIs hold?
So FIs normally, obviously, they don't invest directly in Gulaq Gear 6. They invest in specific stocks. But जो मैंने last time बात की कि there is this specific factor also कि FIs या institutions भी, whether they are domestic institutions or international ones, वो कहाँ buying और selling कर रहे हैं. तो we track all of this data and we use that data in our algorithms. Right, but again we never predict कि FIs next month कितना सेल करेंगे या किन स्टॉक्स में सेल करेंगे, किस स्टॉक्स में बाइंग स्टार्ट करेंगे. we don't predict those kind of things, but we do take into account what they are doing and then accordingly act.
Then Rahul says, are you expecting markets to go down further? And even Deepak is asking if it's the right time to invest more now or should we wait for fall further?
So yeah, अगर मेरे को पता होता तो I would have made a killing. I really don't know. Frankly, I don't know the answer to this question. I know कि 5 साल बाद निफ्टी अभी जहां पे है यहाँ से काफी ऊपर होगा। इसके चांसेस बहुत ज्यादा हैं। अब शॉर्ट टर्म में मैं आपको कुछ एक आंसर दे सकता हूँ, बहुत स्मार्ट साउंडिंग आंसर, बट द ऑनेस्ट आंसर इज आई डोंट नो कि अगले 1 महीने में क्या होगा।
There are people I know who follow technical analysis and they, keep predicting that based on technical indicators, market कैसे move करेगी, कहाँ जाएगी, कितनी जाएगी. But that is more from a short term point of view. हम वो देखते ही नहीं है. हम ये देखते हैं कि equity में अभी इस month कौन सी best opportunities हैं. हर महीने हम ये देखते हैं and then we provide this to our investors who are focusing on the longer term. हम लोग, that's why our information, what we focus on is picking the best stocks, increasing our information ratio, reducing our churn, those kind of things. We don't really predict कि market कितनी ऊपर जाएगी या what is a support, what is the resistance levels based on different technical indicators. हम वो देख ही नहीं रहे, हम long term wealth creation के लिए काम कर रहे हैं. Now, Kritish says, is using more weightage for momentum stocks at a time when the entire market is going down a good idea? Shouldn't we focus more on quality at this time rather than momentum?
So
Vivek.
quality is definitely a factor. This month momentum has shown a comeback, so that's why we've given some weightage to momentum. But I think the rest of the weightage is towards quality. So the leverage as a factor is, it's kind of a quality factor only. So we have given weight to quality as well. So yeah.
I think Bharat and Venkat are again asking about need based. So Venkat says need basis means manager has to go by stock, the latest company opportunity and threats. But fixed monthly doesn't make benefit. Okay, so he's thinking that I think we are doing fundamental analysis because he says that by company we will see what are the opportunities, threats, do a SWOT analysis, etc., which someone may do when they're actually sitting, some research analyst may be doing. So he says fixed monthly doesn't make sense. And Bharat
Yeah,
is
in
also
that approach,
not rebalancing on need
if
basis.
somebody is using that discretionary style of investing, then obviously fixed monthly does not make sense. It's as per the new data, whenever they are convinced, they'll go and buy, irrespective of की date वो starting है, end of month है या क्या है. But in a rule based systematic framework जो हम यूज करते हैं, उसमें हमें एक रूल बेस्ड स्ट्रेटजी से ही चलना होगा. ठीक है. और वही जो मैंने बताया कि नीड बेसिस पे भी हमने ट्राई किया हुआ है. इट रियली डज नॉट वर्क इन दिस फ्रेमवर्क. इन अदर्स डेफिनेटली दैट मेक्स मोर सेंस, बट इन दिस फ्रेमवर्क monthly rebalancing works better.
Yeah. I think some people were not there, Vivek. 2-3 people are saying please consider need based. If you can explain again why need based won't work for us.
So we know it won't work for us because हमारी जो स्ट्रेटजी है प्योर रूल बेस्ड होती है कि अगर ए बी सी चीजें होंगी तो हमें ये एक्शन लेना है, वर्सेस बी सी एंड डी होगा तो ये समथिंग लाइक दैट. तो ये जो इसे रूल जो नीड बेसिस पे आप बता रहे हैं वो भी हमने टेस्ट किया हुआ है. तो टेस्ट कुड बी समथिंग लाइक कि अगर एक स्टॉक का विद इन अ मंथ लेट से 50% प्रॉफिट आ जाता है, तो शुड आई बुक प्रॉफिट्स इन दैट और नॉट. या फिर एक स्टॉक एकदम से विद इन अ मंथ 50% नीचे चला जाता है, तो शुड आई बुक स्टॉप लॉस और नॉट. राइट. सो ये नीड बेसिस वाले हमने रूल्स डिजाइन करके इसको बैक टेस्ट किया था. और इसका जो आउटपुट आया है उसका आउटपुट से हमें पता लगा कि दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स माइट वर्क इन द शॉर्ट रन. तो ऐसा एक स्पेसिफिक साल हो सकता है जबकि ये बेटर काम कर रहा होगा एज कंपेयर टू अदर. बट देन देयर आर अदर्स, there are other years where it hasn't worked. तो लॉन्ग टर्म अगर हम देखते हैं तो it really does not work as well as a fixed time rebalancing. strategy. So yeah, that's what it is.
Right. So I think Nilesh has sent a lot of messages. He's saying that the performance has gone down drastically, and if you're delivering reasonable returns, need to deliver reasonable returns. Else, it's recommended to go in debt. Uh, and he's saying rules need to change to go in debt during bad times. I think he means move your
Yeah, Nilesh,
allocation.
this is something, in fact, we have tested this also. So when you say ki it needs to go into debt when markets are falling, something like that, so that is going to cash कि आपका equity versus debt आप allocation change करते जा रहे हैं dependent on your view of the market. If the view is good, then you will have more of equity allocation. So that market timing model, in fact, we have tested a lot. Again, we couldn't make it work. It's a very, very hard problem to solve. It's not that we have given up, we are still trying, but till now we haven't been successful. It's really very few people are able to do it well, this timing the market, right? So this is something that at least we haven't been able to make it work, and that's why we are not using it. And we don't give those kind of market timing calls ki abhi time अच्छा है, you enter or exit, right? So yeah.
Maybe Vivek, we can discuss this internally since we are already discussing on what other kind of portfolios we can offer. Maybe
Hmm.
this could be one of the new kind of portfolio we could consider checking if our strategy team is able to provide something of this sort and how its back-tested returns are. We could do some analysis. Of course, it will take a few months for us to be able to release it if it all works well and we see good returns there. But maybe just to discuss, we can
Sure, definitely. This
approach
is
this.
something that we have from time to time, we keep coming back to this problem, and we
Hmm.
have tried it multiple times, but definitely no harm in giving it one more try.
Hmm. Makes sense. Okay, Ravi had a question. What is the efficiency of the quant system and how long you tested your quant system?
So how long we have tested? We have tested it for 12 years of data, on 12 years of data. Obviously, more than that 12 years of data, आपके पास ये last 5 year का live track record है, to which you should give more importance than that 12 year of historical back test. And efficiency, by efficiency, I think what you mean is कि जो हमने पहले डेटा आज शेयर किया था कि what is the chances of success, what are the chances of success if you invest for 3 months, 6 months, that data we shared earlier. So that data tells us ki what's the efficiency. So, and normally what you gain out of that data is the longer you hold a Gulaq portfolio, the more efficient it becomes in terms of beating the market. Yeah.
Stock market dost. He's asking, he or she is asking, sir, how to generate 50% CAGR now I am in age 22.
Over what time?
Yeah, that's correct. No, 50% CAGR over what time? That's
I don't know. Uh, I don't know if you can do it annually. I don't know anyone who can do it annually. But if you find out, please do let us know also.
Yeah, Vivek, that was the last question. I think we are done. We've covered all the questions that were asked, in my opinion.
Okay, great, great. It was really nice. I think I'm doing this after last two Rebalance webinars. I was for some reason unable to attend. So it's
Right.
really nice to be back and interact with all our investors.
Yeah, I think someone did mention that nice to see Vivek back again. I did see that comment.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much,
Okay,
Vivek.
Isha. Thanks a lot, and thank you everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye.